Welcome back, everybody, to another thrilling episode of Thrive Street Programming with Coach 2Js. This is your host, Jeremy Jones. We're talking about Week 16, Saturday, April 20th. So for our context, we're talking about do more of what you are good at and less of what you are not, and be honest with yourself and your team about that. So sometimes this is more of a mental toughness exercise where you have to expose yourself, not literally, but expose your weaknesses to your team. But I think it's really important that we understand kind of what, some people say, think that they're not good at something, but they actually aren't bad. And they just feel like, oh, I suck at that movement. And it's like, well, you're better than the rest of your team, so no, you're not. And then sometimes people think they're really good at something, and they're not. And so having that understanding of, okay, I may not like this movement, but that doesn't mean I suck at it. Or I wish I could do more, but that doesn't mean you're bad at it. Sometimes we have that, we kind of beat ourselves up and we feel like we could do so much better. And so kind of being honest about what you can do, so that you can plan for your team. So if you're not transparent or real with your teammates, that will affect the workout for them as well. So it's important that you have that conversation. Now, when it comes to real competitions, not just competition context, but actually competing on teams, the better the team knows each other, the faster the workout's going to be, because you'll know when people should split it up, when you should kind of push through on a bigger set. You'll understand when to step in when someone's form's breaking down, all those things. And so that's one of the things, is this sort of radical transparency that Ray Dalio talks about in the Principles book, is you need to be very transparent with yourself and also your crew, your teammates. So we got our Coach's Choice warm-up. Do some fun warm-up games, or some of the fun implements that you have laying around the gym that we don't get to use very often. This is your opportunity to shine. If you really don't want to do that, or if you're the one creating posting the programming for the gym, you can always just copy and paste another good warm-up from earlier in the week and maybe tweak it. But I do like it when coaches get to kind of pick and choose their own stuff. So Harry, Ron, and Hermione, which is the name for this workout, is obviously a Harry Potter reference. It's basically another workout where we're doing a little bit of Murph prep. We're going to start with some hip extensions just because it's a great movement, and I like to do them when there's on team workouts, because there's not always a lot of those machines for everyone to have their own. But then we're going to go through, it's also interesting to have people do the hip extensions and then have to do the run, right? So they can really feel their posterior chain and how they're using it, and that can actually help improve their running technique. It won't make the run easier, but it will help them understand a little bit more about what muscles they should be using when they run. And then we want everyone to run together, or they can do this, they can share an assault bike if you guys don't have enough, if you guys can't run outside. And then we're going to do 5 rounds. So this is kind of like a Murph style, but instead of pull-ups, we're doing rope climbs. Now, Friday's workout had a lot of grip stuff, so if people did come in on Friday, their grips are going to be a little bit blown up. But the reality is that they should be using their feet, right? So the proper technique is actually use your feet. And instead of doing a ton of rope climbs in a workout just to show them how important it is to use their feet, you can say, like, well, your hands are tired, your forearms are a little blown up. You make sure you have good technique when you do these rope climbs. So it's rope climb. So this is, again, one person working at a time. Now the push-ups are 2 people working at a time. So really only one person's resting. And so if you had all things being equal, you're getting 2 times the amount of work to 1 time the amount of rest, approximately. And then, so you could have, you could split this up however you want, but ultimately the goal is to make sure that people aren't, there's not one person working because you didn't split it up correctly. Then we got 45 goblet squats. So you can see the ratio is actually similar to the Murph, where it's 5, 10, 15. And so that's what we see here. And then again, this is 2 people working at a time, and it's a goblet squat, so it's going to be a little bit more challenging. So again, I do expect people to rotate pretty often. Ideally, people should only have 2 goblets, two kettlebells per team, and they have to hand them off, right? They shouldn't all have their own, unless they're all using different weights, and that's totally fine. And these goblet squats will make the people who are doing Murph with a vest, this will help them prepare for that. So it's important that we talk about, that these workouts are planned for that, because then it does. We want our clients to understand that there's a lot of planning and thought put into this programming stuff and these workouts, and they're not just made up on the spot, right? We're not just throwing these things together. And it also helps kind of build up some excitement around events like Murph. So it's really great if you talk up the big event you're going to have, and make sure people put it on their calendar now so they don't accidentally book something else. and that sort of thing. Then now from a strategy standpoint, one thing, if someone is a slower runner, you may want to have them do on that last round, on round 4 and round 5, but especially round 5, maybe have them do less push-ups and less goblet squats, so that they can be a little bit more rested for the run, right? And then you have your kind of runner type people do a little bit extra, so because we know that they'll be able to keep up with the slower runner. That's how we want this one to work, and we want people to stick together. Now ultimately, if someone on this last run, if they if they're coming back in on the last 200, they want to sprint and ditch their partners because they don't feel like they got a good workout. That's fine, but that's not really the goal, right? But there is an indie version for people who want to do an indie version, and that's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot, and thrive on.